Let's go to the Baltimore Ravens next. I have them finishing 10-7. You have them finishing 11-6. This was the team that won the division last year with Lamar Jackson being MVP. How far do you have the Baltimore Ravens going this year, knowing that they are a wild card team from this division? Where do you got them going? And then let's talk about your offensive MVP here.
I have them taking a slight step back and making the wild card round, but not going no further than that. I just think I have some concerns with this team, especially at wide receiver. Odell Beckham was their number 2 last year, and he's gone now. Now, I need Mark Andrews healthy for sure. That's coming off the leg injury that he had last year against the Bengals and didn't return. Isaiah Likely did a great job, as his replacement. I've liked Isaiah Likely since he was at Coastal Carolina. I think you do too. Guy who can really separate a lot of speed at tight end. But I need someone other than Zay Flowers to step up at receiver. Is it finally Rashad Bateman? Is it somebody else? Like, who is it? I know Zay Flowers can get open. I don't think there's any question about that. I think he's a perfect fit for them. Todd Monken knows how to use him perfectly. It's the rest of it. It's this passing game. I know they got Derrick Henry in there. I already know they're going to be the best running team in football. They've done that since Lamar Jackson stepped on the field, right? So it's not that, look, and Derrick Henry's going to put up numbers and fantasy people are going to love him. But to me, I don't know how much it really improves their team to get Derrick Henry when they were already by far the best running team in the AFC and probably in the NFL. So I think a wild card exit for me, there's just something about it where I go, I just don't know that they got. Then you look at their defense. They lost Patrick Queen. They lost Geno Stone. And I know they're always drafting well. They're one of the best drafting teams in the league. But there's just something about this Raven team makes me feel like they missed an opportunity last year.
Yeah, I also have them taking a little bit of a step back. Obviously not winning this division. I also have them getting to the wild card round. I think this is a good football team, but when I was doing my playoff predictions, the way that it popped out is I have them, spoiler alert, facing the Houston Texans at home in the playoffs in that first round of the playoffs. And I had Houston as the team that was victorious there. So I had, similarly to you, the Ravens just reaching the wild card round, making the playoffs. I think an interesting part of this and part of a reason why I kind of have them taking a little step back, I agree with you. I think there is still a lack of passing weapons beyond Mark Andrews and now Zay Flowers. I think that they kind of need a little bit more to that. But really beyond the passing attack, which I know a lot of people like to talk about because it's a hot button topic with Lamar Jackson, this team's bread and butter has always been running the football, especially when things are going really well. They bring in Derrick Henry, who is objectively a very good free agent to bring in. Pairing him with Lamar Jackson is incredible, but I do have a little bit of worries with losing Morgan Moses on this team because last season Ravens were 5th in the NFL in rushing grade. They had a 90.5 rushing grade as a team, and they were 4th in EPA per rush, so really effective, really good at running the football. Morgan Moses last year, as their right tackle, had a 77.5 run blocking grade. Roger Rosengarten, who I know a lot of people are excited about as their rookie right tackle now, he is a lighter offensive tackle. Like running the ball and being a bully, like that has never been his game. He's been much more of a finesse pass blocker during his time when he was at Washington. Rosengarten had just a 52.9 run blocking grade, and that's last year in college at Washington. So, run plays and run schemes are a little bit different. It's going to be different, with Baltimore's run scheme. I think it's going to be more smash mouth stuff, a lot more power, a lot more north to south runs than Washington, which I think was more, I don't have these numbers off the top of my head, but I feel like it was more zone blocking stuff. It was more getting into space, more towards the sideline, right? So the blocking scheme is going to be a little bit different, but I am worried about that. Now, thankfully for Baltimore, it's not like it's all bad. I mean, they got some beef up front. I mean, you still have Ronnie Stanley if he is healthy. Andrew Voorhees, one of the strongest interior offensive linemen of the class that I watch. Daniel Falele looks like he's 350 pounds. I mean, he's just a monster on that interior right guard. And then you have Tyler Linderbaum as well, who I think is one of the best young centers in the league. So they've got enough guys outside of Rosengarten, but he and just his run blocking ability, his run blocking grades, not as impactful as it was for a guy like Morgan Moses for a team that really wants to predicate itself on running the football. So I think that's just something to think about. I think the offensive MVP is Derrick Henry because as good as the Ravens are running the ball, that is going to determine not only their floor, but I also think their ceiling as well. Defensive MVP, who you got for this team?
So I think I forgot to mention, but offensive MVP for me has to be Lamar Jackson. It's always Lamar Jackson. He's the MVP of the league. He's the MVP of their team. Defensive, I'm going going with at safety with Kyle Hamilton. This is one of the freaks at safety, man. And I know, look, we've got some up-and-comers coming up in college. We got some guys who are already in the league who are freaks. I think safety's making a comeback, and Kyle Hamilton's right at the center of it. He just can do everything. I mean, there's nothing he can't do. 86.4 overall, 6th best in the NFL. Pass rush, send him as a blitzer, play in the slot, cover one-on-one. I know he gave up a touchdown in the playoffs to Travis Kelce one-on-one, but he was in wicked tight coverage on that play. He can run, defend, he can fly around, he can play as that extra linebacker type if you're in the nickel and you need a tweener like that. Kyle Hamilton, since his days at Notre Dame, has been able to do everything, and he does everything for this Ravens team. It's probably the reason that they felt comfortable letting Geno Stone walk and signing Justin Madubuike up front instead. Kyle Hamilton really on the back end is a leader of this defense. He's the glue that holds this whole thing together. He's about to have a freak season. I think it's a lot like when we talk about other guys like Derwin James and Jesse Bates and those guys. He's in that class, and I think honestly he's their best defensive player.
I mean, Kyle Hamilton is fantastic. I mean, he's no Antoine Winfield Jr., but it's just no, I'm kidding. These guys are both fantastic players. Some of the best safeties. On yesterday's podcast, we were talking about Javon Holland as well. It's just, I agree with you, man. We've got so many great safeties in the league this year. It feels like we've got a lot of good ones that are coming into the upcoming 2025 NFL draft as well. A little teaser there, but my defensive MVP. Somebody's got to step up at pass rushing, right? I mean, you're losing Jadeveon Clowney. You're losing other guys along the defensive line. Like, somebody's got to really step up on the edge and be that edge presence for you. I know they got Kyle Van Noy as well, but I think it's got to be time for David Ojabo to step up, right? Like, I think that he has to now, hopefully fully healthy, and that's, I think, been the thing with David Ojabo is he tore his Achilles while he was working out at, I think it was it at the Combine or was it his pro day?
I think it was one of the two. I'm pretty sure it was, I thought it was at his pro day.
So he tears his Achilles working out for the draft. So he misses all but 2 games his rookie season. And then last year he tears his ACL in September. So he misses basically all of last year as well. So those are 2 major injuries on a guy where explosiveness, lower body power, that's a big deal. So sucks, man. But if he can come back, I really liked what I saw from him at Michigan when he was really starting to figure it out. I think he's just a great athlete, ton of size, a lot of strength, dense body. He can play a lot of different stuff. He could be a 2-point rusher, 3-point rusher. I think the sky is the limit for David Ojabo. We just really have not been able to see it. If he can really step up and be fully healthy, and if he can be a big-time impactful pass rusher on this team, you got Roquan in the middle. You got Marlon Humphrey. You got Kyle Hamilton. You've got Justin Madubuike. Like, you got guys at basically every other level of the defense that if you just get a steady, explosive edge presence, they could really get after the passer. That is something that I think could be a massive swing and even maybe a couple of wins for this team if they're able to count on him for that. But I got David Ojabo. I'm really hoping we get a fully healthy year from him because he was somebody I was really excited about coming out of Michigan. Who's your breakout player? Who do you got?
I'm staying with the same position and even staying with the same college conference, but this guy came out of Penn State a couple of years ago. I think he's going to be really good this year in a starting role. That's Odafe Owe, okay? You've got Jadeveon Clowney, who left in free agency. Everything you just mentioned about needing a healthy edge presence, somebody off the edge, but Owe's a guy who at least we've seen already do it last season, a 77.4 pass rush grade. That's the highest among returning Ravens edge players, right? And he didn't have a ton of sacks, but I think this is one of those guys where the pass rush grade, the pass rush win rate, and the pressure start turning into sacks for him as he gets more snaps, right? Like we've established last year, Clowney and Van Noy were the starters. Owe rotated in. Now it's his time, I think. I think Ojabo steps more into Owe's role from last year where he rotates in, he gets in, he's not going to play 50-something snaps a game, right? I think Owe has to be that guy off the edge for them. Exactly everything you just described for Ojabo, I think that's where Owe steps in as the counterpart to Van Noy with Clowney leaving into that starting role as their best pass rusher, an emerging player. He needs to step up for them in their front seven, and their pass rush could struggle off the edge.
Okay, my breakout player, I'll switch over to the offensive side of things. You touched on some questions at receiver, right? We can depend on Zay Flowers. You said he's going to be great. But then outside of that, Nelson Aguilar is still here. Rashad Bateman, it feels like we're supposed to buy into the hype. And trust me, I bought into the hype of Rashad Bateman the last 2 years, but I'm still waiting for it over here. Can we get Tylan Wallace a little bit of love? The 4th-year man out of Oklahoma State? Because I really liked Tylan Wallace when he was at Oklahoma State. Yeah, okay, he's a little bit smaller. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but and he was productive for the Cowboys. Almost 1,500 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns during his sophomore season while he was at Oklahoma State. Kind of went through some injuries and didn't have as good of a year after that. Ended up getting drafted in the 4th round by the Ravens. But Dalton, I was shocked by this. He has yet to play more than 100 snaps in any regular season over the last 3 years. This preseason, he's got an 89.2 overall grade. That's one of the highest. I think it might be the highest on the team. Give Tylan Wallace a shot. I feel like we just keep throwing, Nelson Aguilar and Rashad Bateman and these guys out there, and I just feel like their ceiling is capped at this point. It would be futile to just watch these guys out there and say, yeah, it's coming, just wait on it, the big-time breakout year. Tylan Wallace feels like he might be ready to break out, and I know he's sort of a similar build to Zay Flowers. Maybe they want somebody bigger out there. They want a bigger receiver, somebody that can handle those extra responsibilities, but you got some tight ends that can do that, right? You can flex Mark Andrews out to be able to do that, maybe even Isaiah Likely. You've got some size at tight end. Tylan Wallace has been productive for you, and this preseason feels like his most productive preseason yet. I'd love to see him get some more roles in the offense when the regular season comes around. Now, I understand it's a team that likes to run the ball a lot. Tylan Wallace, at his size and stature, isn't exactly going to be a great run-blocking wide receiver for you. But when you got to pass the football, let's get this guy a little bit more involved. I'd love to see a Tylan Wallace breakout season, especially for as well as he is playing in the preseason. What about their best rookie? Either side of the ball, offense or defense, who do you got as the Baltimore Ravens' best rookie this year?
Don't forget, too, with Wallace, that game-winning punt return against the Rams last year. We know what he can do with the ball in his hands, but
give the guy the football. Come on.
Oh yeah,
come on.
Absolutely. Just get anyway.
We're starting the agenda. We're starting the hype train right here on this show.
Tylan Wallace is our first hype train together. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah. I don't know how well that's going to pan out for us, but I've loved Tylan Wallace since that 2018 season, so I'm okay taking a chance on him here and saying, let's get this guy the football.
We'll figure it out as we go, and I'll tell you another guy who's figuring it out as he goes, man. Their first-round pick, Nate Wiggins, at corner, he looked spectacular this preseason, didn't he? I mean, just first of all, perfect fit in their defense. You got a guy with size, speed, length. He's one of those guys. I mean, he's a little bit light. I think he weighed in at the combine at like 173 pounds, and the way he looked this preseason, I don't even care. He had a 91.1 coverage grade this preseason. Hurt his shoulder making a tackle in the first game, missed the second game, and then came back against Green Bay in the third game and just didn't miss a beat. This guy, when you talk about the Ravens, they have a long tradition of wanting to play like aggressive press man coverage. Nate Wiggins is built for it. And his speed, I think his speed especially, he can cover any receiver in football with his feet right now. I think physicality is going to be a thing. If he were to see a receiver, almost like with Emmanuel Forbes last year, another kind of skinny corner who struggled with thicker receivers like A.J. Brown and guys like that, we could see that be a problem. But what Nate Wiggins has showed us so far in the preseason and by all reports in camp, this guy could be a real force for them across from Marlon Humphrey. We've known Marlon Humphrey's been great for years, but it seems like the last couple of years of trying to find that number 2 corner or even 1A and 1B across from Humphrey, Nate Wiggins could be it. He was spectacular at Clemson, enough that nobody in the ACC even wanted to throw to him, and I don't blame them one bit. And he's only put good tape on the field. He was terrific. 3 forced incompletions a few weeks ago. I believe it was against Philadelphia. I don't remember. But he's just been so good in coverage, and he's just a pure lockdown cover corner. Run support's going to need some work. Got to put some weight on in the next couple of years, but I have no question about this guy's coverage ability.
Did you see him having 2 mouthpieces on his helmet? Did you see this?
I did not. Why? Does he keep a spare on him or what?
Look, the thing is, I don't know. I'm trying to find out what the answer is, and I don't know what it is. But I wasn't even watching the game. I just saw the tweets. People were like, why is Nate Wiggins wearing 2 mouth guards? And I don't think like either of them, like he had either of them in. Like they were just like dangling from the helmet. Somebody said that they were also the opposing team's colors. I don't know. I have no idea. I need a beat reporter for Baltimore because he's a corner and he likes to talk, a lot. And I'm trying to keep the show family friendly before we go off the rails before the season even begins. But he likes to talk a lot, and so I'm wondering, like, there's got to be a reason for it. It's got to be some sort of pride reason. But I agree with you completely. Nate Wiggins is my guy for best rookie as well. You mentioned the 91.9 coverage grade. No returning corner for the Baltimore Ravens this year had a coverage grade above 70.0, and this guy's got an elite coverage grade in the preseason. He is exactly what the doctor ordered for Baltimore's second secondary to get even better.